Hi, I'm Gordy Gundaker. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor podcast.
Hi, I'm Don Martin. Welcome to the Dirt Parlor. And this thing is big.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this week's episode of the Dirt Parlor. Got my awesome co-host, Mr. Don Martin, here with us. We want to start off by thanking all of our great sponsors. We want to thank Hoker Trucking, Jeff Hoker, Steve Martin with Nutrient Ag, Bo Popejoy with Hot Rod Septic, Bodies by Skinny, Reed Millard with Millard Family Chapels, and Checkered Custom Screen Printing and Embroidery. Tonight we have two guests on our show. We got some really cool things to go through. First of all, we have the Newport Nightmare, Mr. Jimmy Owens. Name speaks for itself. And we have Jake O'Neill joining us as well to talk about kind of some 2026 plans and some interesting things you guys got going on. But first of all, thank you guys for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
First of all, Jimmy, great job last week. It's always nice to get one like that, huh?
Well, we don't like hand-me-downs, but I felt like the 30,000, I kind of returned the favor to Turbo and all those guys because it was kind of a gamble on tires and stuff like that. And they did a great job prepping the track. And, the night before we ran second, I was really, really confident in the car and I wasn't worried about my tires. But then at the end, we pulled up and looked, heck, I'd canvassed my right rear in 30 laps. I was like, holy cow. And so for the feature, they prepped the track and it'll always go from pretty hammer down to it'll get slick and then it'll latch up and rubber up. Well, that rubbered up, about 20 to go, I decided I better pit. I was like, there's no way I can make it 40 laps in the rubber. And so I pitted with 20 to go and I had plenty of tire left. And I just leading the race, pulled over and just handed it right over to the second place guy.
Kind of going through that, obviously you're feeling it in the race car, how much tire you feel like you have left. Nobody ever wants to pull in leading a race, but you've done this so many times. You just kind of calculate yourself and understand you're not going to make it. Did you consider saying the hell with it and just staying out?
I did, but I've considered that two or three times in the past, and last year it kind of bit me in the butt there because I pitted kind of early and Turbo pitted late, and then he was able to pass us. It was kind of rubbered up a little harder than what it was. So he had pressure tire and was able to get by us and everything. And then this year it was a totally different track, and I just gambled again and just should have just stayed out there. But live and learn, or I guess I've been there and done that enough, and I ain't learned shit. We'll keep trying.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Whitener was good. He was good. Mark's been good all year.
Yeah.
Mark's had a solid year. And so it was kind of like, and I could tell that, I can't imagine because I've never naturally raced in competition or anything like that. And what's kind of like when you're going through the tech, and here you're thinking, okay, I'm a second place, whatever, taking it. And all of a sudden, boom, it's like guy comes up light and naturally you've been doing this a long time. There's got to be that part of you. It's like, well, I'm happy to take the win, but at the same time, it's got to be like, damn, what a bad break, Yeah,
that does suck. I actually walked up to Mark the next day and asked him if he wanted me to put his name on the car or whatever for sponsoring that. It was good that we could joke around about that. That was pretty funny. But, man, it was just it's heartbreaking, but it is. You're down there running classes, and I think he was running like 4 classes, and somebody said he knocked the nose off, so that's thrash and just forgot to put fuel in the car. But, that's part of it. I hate that for those guys. I would say I hate to win it like that, but shit, we like to win however we can.
Yeah, no matter what. Jake, let's talk to you.
Yep.
So obviously, you and Jimmy are kind of pairing up here. Why don't you kind of talk about what you got planned out? I'd rather just let you kind of go through what you're looking at doing next year. And obviously, you've raced a ton and you're bouncing all over. So what's the game plan for 26 look like?
Oh, yeah, we've been bouncing around quite a bit, especially with the modified and late model stuff, and kind of got our feet wet this year with the late model. And I think next year we're going to try to run it a lot more and focus on running that thing as much as we can. And And we're working on getting some sponsorship together. We might try to run the World of Outlaws or something, but we're still, like I said, still working on that, trying to get some more funding.
What's it like learning from Jimmy? That's what I got to know, right? Like you got one of the best in the sport to happen to teach you, and Jimmy's busted everybody's asses for the last 30 years. So what's that been like?
Oh, it's awesome. He's obviously one of the greatest of all time, I think, and but he's not a very good teacher. He just tells you to go and do it. You know what I mean? But no, he's been a huge help for me. Pretty much my whole career, really. Even with the modified stuff, and he lets us work out of a shop there this year quite a bit, and then we went and helped him racing a few times, and we just have a good time.
Jimmy, you missed the modifieds. People forget about.
They don't miss him racing modifieds.
No,
I can guarantee you that much.
I don't know if Jimmy remembers this a little bit, but it's like 2000. Brownstown, Illinois used to have a big 2-day modified show, and you came in there with the Orange 20, and you and Mikey both did, and you just laid it on him for 2 straight days. And there was that weekend. That was when you had 85, 90 of the best UMP modifieds in the country, and we all know that Illinois area is a pretty good of a hotbed right there, and I don't think people realize just how good, and like you said, glad to see you out of them.
We've been very, very fortunate and run a lot, but it's one thing we never did was run from the competition, especially back then. I was probably a little young and cocky, and we could do okay around our area, but, we'd race against 15, 20 modifieds a week. Then when we started traveling around a little bit, we'd see how much that we didn't really have no competition down here. So I made it a point. We had competition, you know what I mean? But, we get up yonder at Brownstown and places like that, and they have 50, 75 mods. And like you said, it wasn't no cakewalk. So we just made it a point to keep going and bettering ourselves and stuff for it. And, it paid off. Next thing you know, we're coming home and we're pretty hard to beat at the house too. When before we was like, man, I kind of hate to run off and race these other guys because these guys at home will be real tough. But then when we get back, we're a lot tougher than what they was.
Well, it's crazy how much the modified game has changed. I feel like over the span of the last 25 years, is there for the longest time, it seemed to be where there was those guys that could run the slick, do everything. Then it took that little progression where you had to be a cushion guy. Then I know when Hoffman starts building his elite cars and a lot of that stuff, then you get back in the middle. And the modified is way more ever changing than I feel as if the late models are. Like, I feel like that game changes pretty consistently. And obviously both of you guys have won a lot of modified races. Nothing away from you, Jake, because you've done plenty. Yes. But I don't kind of talk about what the changes like for you guys, for you, Jake, all the modified stuff, running USMTS races and UMP stuff, and how vastly different it all is.
Yeah, it's changing, and even recently, the last couple of years, it's changed quite a bit. I think rules change, so it makes everybody kind of adapt to different things, and everybody just gets better. I think information is more readily available nowadays. Where before it was just us in the shop trying to make things faster. Now, heck, you go buy about whatever you want, it seems like, or buy information from somebody, and a lot of data testing and stuff like that, which we've never done. But it's definitely changing, and then everybody's getting better as drivers too. I feel like we didn't do a lot of modified racing this year, but I could definitely went back raced with them guys. I felt like we probably got to work on our program a little bit more.
Yeah.
Is it tough? When you think about it, coming from like out west, like Arizona and New Mexico and all that area, and then when you come back like to the Midwest, and then you get to those USMTS guys that are those guys out of Oklahoma and Iowa, they're animals.
Very much, yeah.
And talk a little bit about that. Like, coming from, what made you how'd you even get into it? What made you, a guy from Arizona, want to come to the Midwest and run USMTS and all that?
Well, the biggest thing is there's not much racing at home. We have pretty much one track, Vado, that races open stuff right now. Our track in Tucson closed down. And so if we want to go racing, we gotta come back east somewhere. And we did do some of the IMCA stuff and all that, the crate stuff. But I'm kind of like Jimmy. I've always sought for the toughest competition. I feel like the better drivers you race with, the better you're going to be. You know what I mean? So a lot of butt kickings in the meantime, but I feel like eventually you get up there and it makes you a better driver.
I think one of my favorites about watching when you run your mod, Jake, is I promise you, it is easily the most drooped out car you're probably going to see. This thing is standing, I mean, to the moon. Like, he'll go by somebody and it looks like he's just going to monster truck him. It's so much taller than that. It seems like everybody else's. It's pretty, and I feel like that's, the modifieds really changed into that over the last 5 or 6 years where, them guys are just able to make them climb way more. But when that happened, right, obviously, all your front end stuff changes. Does it make those cars more rigid, you would say? Like, obviously, you watch Nick stuff, the elite cars don't go around in the rough very good, but I don't know, kind of talk about what, I don't know, I'd say advantages that really gives you guys.
I think the biggest thing is lift arm and a pull bar stuff has a lot different attitude. And it seems like over the last year or two to get the traction, the way the tires have changed and stuff. And I feel like most guys are on pull bars nowadays. Not everybody, but most guys are. And they just it's harder to get a balanced car with them. And when I switched back to the pull bar stuff, I felt like my car just gained a lot of droop, and it was fast. So I just kind of left it, you know what I mean? And anybody knows me, I like to do my own thing. And we kind of just, sometimes we're kind of crazy, you know what I mean? But if it works, it is what it is.
Real quick, how'd you get to zero?
That's a kind of a funny story. So first time I ever raced was one of my brother's cars. I borrowed, it was his old car that he had wrecked, and I put it together, and then we borrowed a motor from another guy, one of our sponsors, and then we were it was last minute, like always, getting to the track, and sticker guy called me, says, "Hey, what number you want to put on this thing?" I said, I don't care, whatever, just print me something to put on here. So he brought me a big O. It was actually a O. It wasn't even a zero. It was like a O, like my last name. You know what I mean? So, and we went out there. I think we were in second or something the first night, and then we won the second night. And they called me the Big O car for the longest time because it was an all black car with just a white number. So we just kind of stuck with it. You know what I mean? And then later on, I was like, well, you're either a hero or a zero, and I'm usually always a zero. So it just kind of fit in. But.
Oh, shit, that's good. Well, on the topic of zero, Jimmy, I mean, you raced with Scott, for a long time. You guys had a lot of spirited battles over the years, whether you were in his cars or not. Talk about some of the times you got to spend being around Scott, some of the races you had with Scott, and things you learned and things you probably didn't want to learn from him. I mean, I can't imagine the stories that you have from all the years you guys raced up and down the road together.
Well, I wouldn't say we raced up and down the road together. It was pretty fun for a little while, and then it got to be a little more competitive, and then we kind of parted ways a little bit. But it was always fun. It was definitely he sped up my learning curve a lot. And he was real big on confidence. He instilled a lot of confidence in what we did, and that helped a whole lot. And I mean, it was definitely some heated battles and some fun times. Let me tell you, he's a hard worker. I learned that about him. He'd dig and get after it.
The one thing about it too, when you were in his car, when you went to Wheatland, it was like writing you the check. Those Show Me 100s, there wasn't pretty for a lot of other guys out there.
Yeah. Jake, Jimmy hasn't tried to teach you how to drive one-handed yet, has he?
It's kind of ironic. I can only drive with one hand also. I feel like I'm fighting myself if I drive with two. Not smart enough for that.
Jesus. And I think one of my favorite, there was an in-car video of Jimmy. It might have been at like East Bay or something. And they popped this in-car camera and Jimmy's in there just wheeling away with one hand like it's no big deal, like he's on a Sunday drive, and he's out here just busting everybody's asses. And it's like, man, it's almost demoralizing. You look on here, everybody else is just trying as hard as they can, and he's like, he could be smoking a cigarette and cruising one-handed. When did that start, or how did that come, or is that how you've always drove?
Well, I never really noticed I did it, until everybody told me I did it. And but I guess growing up here in the woods, we got a bunch of dune buggies and Bajas, and we just terrorized the mountain roads in these things. And so I always had one hand. These things ain't got power steering or nothing on it. So I'd always have one hand on the shifter, downshifting and upshifting through the corners and everything. And so you really only had time to drive one-handed because you was changing gears so much. And I guess that's where that came about at. So driving them things and slamming gears back and forth.
Well, I got a buddy around here that races, Darren Klein, and he drives one-handed sometimes, and we give him shit for it. But, well, he's not nearly as talented, I would say, as you are. So that's probably why we give him more shit about it. But there's no way I could ever do it. I'm telling him if one hand falls off the wheel on mine, I'm out to lunch. There's no way I could do it. That's for sure. But the other thing, kind of talking about late model racing going into 26. Obviously there's been a lot of discussions about the aero packages we have and, how kind of difficult it is to race at some of our tracks. Jake, what has that learning curve been for you coming from modified stuff to race in more late models, kind of having to learn how to use the air, how bad it messes your car up, all of those things?
Yeah, it's been a pretty big learning curve, and I've run these cars a few years ago, but I feel like now more than ever, it's definitely tricky. I mean, you definitely can feel that when you lose the air, when you're starting to lose it, and when you're next to somebody, you get behind somebody in the wrong spot, at the wrong time, how you can miss the entire corner. You know what I mean? And it's definitely been a little bit of a learning curve for sure. And like I said, I always kind of learn that, but.
That means you need Jimmy to help you. So Jimmy's going to have to give you some good tutelage on how to do it. But I mean, Jimmy, I'm sure for you, it's probably been just as much a learning curve as anybody else, right? Because I mean, hell, you go back and watch the World 100s from 2014 and 15 and 16, all those years, these cars were not near as aero dependent as they are now. And how much it has really developed. You almost have, you got to change driving styles and the things you're doing on the car. How much has that messed with, you learning over these last 5 or 6 years?
Oh, it's definitely, it's been a learning curve. And the aero package is probably a little bit, I mean, we depend on the air a whole lot more, but I can remember at Eldora when our cars sat a little bit flatter and our noses were up a little bit higher in the corner, starting fourth going into turn one at Eldora was pretty harrowing. I mean, you was a nervous wreck going in there because you didn't know what was going to happen, where the car was going to go. And now they're a little more sealed off a little more. And it's almost like it ain't as bad, but our cars handle a whole lot better now too. And so that helps. And so it's just, it's a never ending process. And I know we've moved the bodies to the right to tighten up, moved to the left to free up. And we've been back and forth a mile. And it's crazy that it took us this long to figure out how much that body could help us.
Yeah.
You're the Hunt the Front champion, And, talk a little bit about what this year, everybody thinks Jimmy Owens is going to step back a little bit. I don't think stepping back and being the Hunt the Front champion is really kind of stepping back a little bit. There's some pretty good race cars. I mean, if you look at the year before Overton,
yeah,
and now that series is really coming on.
I'm really amazed at their following. Now, I don't know if that's their YouTube channel, but they do a really good job running the show. Got a great bunch of guys racing with them, and they do a good job running everything. So I was really, really impressed with their ability and stuff this year, and their crowds. I mean, they had a really good crowd base that followed them everywhere they went, and it was definitely an eye opener. These other guys better watch out.
Yeah, I'm telling you. Where do you see yourself this year in 2026? What's kind of up Jimmy's sleeve a little bit?
Just right now, it's just so hard to get help. And from one person to the next, every crew out there is struggling for everybody for help and stuff like that. This weekend is just me and my brother. And that was pretty rough, burning through a bunch of tires and stuff like that. Luckily, we didn't tear nothing up. And, we're headed to Charlotte this week. Bobby and all that bunch will be there. So they've got plenty of help. They're not plenty, but they've got help over there. So it'll be a whole lot of racing. But, I don't know. We're just going to hold the cards, and the opportunity is there for us to do whatever we want to with Bobby. He's been super good to us, and we just got to see where it goes and see what we can do for help before we decide what we're going to do.
Yeah, we had Bobby and RTJ and Jeff Hoker actually on here all together after they won the World 100, and I've been fortunate enough to kind of get to know Bobby a lot more and his boys, and KP that helps him over there is one of my good friends. But talk about how what Bobby has done for your program just in general. Obviously, funding is everything in this sport, but what really he's able to allow you to do from your race shop. As a Kohler Motorsports driver, but you're still ripping around the road doing the things that you normally would do, but just with the Kohler Motorsports name.
Yeah, that was this all started. I guess on Mike Abner, I was looking for a hauler because when Leon passed away, I wasn't for sure what I was going to do. I had all the stuff to race with, but I just didn't know if I was going to Florida or what I was doing. I didn't have a rig to go to Florida with. And so Abner tells me to call Bobby there, and he said he's got a rig I could probably borrow or whatever. So I call him up, and just so happens they're in Gatlinburg that weekend, which is right up the road from me. And they come on down, and we bull crap for a little while, and there really wasn't, at best I can remember, wasn't a whole lot of talk about driving for him. But then he leaves, and he didn't really have a hauler I could use or whatever. And then he calls back and says, "Hey, why don't you just race with my son and stuff, and we'll go to Florida and everything and race together." And everything just evolved from there to I was going to ride down there in Dirt Trailer. To next thing you know, I had my own trailer and just had my own team and was able to keep trucking the way we were doing. And it was a real big savior, and I really appreciate him for that. And it's been good. I've been very blessed with some good people in my life.
Yeah. Knowing how Ricky's doing, and what's been doing and being in the Longhorns and you being in the Rockets, do you exchange a lot of information, or you kind of like, is it an independent type deal? Talk a little bit about how does it? I know that everybody's supportive of everyone. It seems like
everybody is always supportive, and they're more than they'll reach out and they always ask if I need help, this or that. But I've never been that guy. I've always kind of been on my own doing this or that. Even when Scott and I raced together, very rarely did I ever go to him for any advice or nothing like that. I kind of did my own thing, and everybody raced. And if I did know what they was doing, I'd do something different, because I was thinking, it'd probably be hard to outrun Scott when it just come down to a driving or whatever. So we got to have some sort of advantage there. And it's kind of the same way with Ricky and all them. I don't ask them what they do, because crew guys come and go, and you just don't want to see somebody. I don't want somebody watching what I'm doing, and then next thing you know, they're over at Bobby Pierce's next week working and showing them what I did that maybe I learned from Ricky, or vice versa. So I just got to keep to myself and keep it going that way.
Yeah. Well, and information in this game, if you have good one, you do not want to be going and telling nobody, because don't get me wrong, as much as some of us are all buddies in the pit area, we're all just as competitive, and nobody wants to get beat. And, that's one of the things we've talked about. Every one of the guys that we've had on this show, from, JD and RT and all these guys, and Shirley, just talk about the notes that you take and how what you have to do to build a notebook in here. So you're not just opening the page for just somebody to come in and take it all from you that you've worked so hard for. That's one of the biggest things about it is in a sport where money funds everything, you got to win the big races and be up front at those. So it definitely makes sense why, you probably, but you've also, don't get me wrong, you built modifieds, you did all those things. You're a little more knowledgeable, I would say, than the next cat on the block.
I don't know about all that. I get confused a lot. But we did that. We built our own shocks for the longest, and did a lot of that. I mean, back whenever, we was all doing the Owens thing, I had been building actually Bilsteins. At one time, I think we'd had most wins on Bilstein than any other racer out there, me and Brett Hearn. And I had ran Bilsteins all up till I started driving for Scott, and then we switched over to Owens. And I'd just been doing my home shop program for a while, because I remember like when that modifieds, they had that 100,000 win modified show. I was going to, I won that, and I thought, man, I'm going to buy me a Harley. And then I'd actually went up and looked at a couple, and that's actually where I met Nathan's mom. I went to buy their motorcycle and ended up with a whole pack. But I backed off on that, and I bought me a shock dyno. So I was probably one of the first dirt late model or modified guys with a shock dyno, and I just worked with that a long time, and I did my own thing forever and ever, and so I just kind of stayed to myself and just doing my own thing and keeping what secrets I learned to myself.
Yeah.
Jake, now that let's get back to you a little bit here. I want to kind of know like a little bit of like what suits your style. What racetracks do you like? You like the big ones? You like the small ones? What's kind of your forte? What's some of the places you like?
It's kind of I've had success in both. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm probably a little better when it comes to being up on the wheels type of stuff, cushions and stuff like that. But we've won a lot of races in the slick in the middle too. So I honestly I don't care as long as our car's good and the track's racy. You know what I mean? Whatever it is, it is.
Well, the reason I want to get there is let's want to talk about the Dome a little bit. About a month from now. You're going to find you're definitely going to be up on the wheel a little bit.
Yeah.
You're planning on being at the Dome, am I correct?
Nope. I wasn't invited.
I thought he was one of the entrants into the modifieds.
I went last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went last year. Yep.
Yeah.
You didn't want to do it again or what?
He beat the piss out of that thing last year.
Yeah. I pretty much destroyed that thing every time I went on the track. It was a lot of fun. And, we drove from the back of I think the last chance or something. I almost made was about to pass for the lead, and then broke a transmission or drive shaft or something. I can't remember what it was. Yeah, we had a pretty rough luck over there, but we had a lot of fun. That was a cool event. I tell you what, that was really cool.
And Jimmy, the Dome has kind of been, you've been coming to this thing now the last 4 or 5 years. You know what I mean? So this starting. Michael, I think Michael sells a lot. Keeps pretty busy selling a lot of stuff up there for you, a lot of merch, for you. But are you excited about it?
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to going and stuff like that. We did not have much luck up there. I mean, we went up over the modified year before last and made the show, ran like crap. I think we got in a wreck first thing and made the show on a late model and got our left rear flat on the first daggone corner. And we just not got to race in the feature yet, but we made it a couple of times and that's about it. So we're going to have to turn that around this year.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Gordy can give you some pointers, man.
Shit, I don't know. There's no pointers. Draw a good pill and don't suck in qualifying and figure it out. That's what everybody. That's what the thing about the Dome that I would say most don't understand is, for one, it's a lot of luck of the draw. Like you have to go out. The racetrack changes quite a bit, and sometimes it picks up speed out of nowhere, and sometimes it falls off in a hurry. Like last year, I think I was the fourth car out in my group, and it fell off like a second by the time the last car went out. So I just happened to be, just kind of worked that way. But that's one place that you don't want to start in the second row of a heat race at the Dome, let alone, you want to be on the front row of any heat race or any race you're in. That's about the best opportunity because from the second row back, it's just absolute chaos the entire time. And you have no idea what the hell's going to happen. So I don't have any pointers. I just try not to destroy my shit until Saturday night. Yeah.
Well, it's challenging for sure.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
And Jimmy, now with Charlotte, we definitely got to talk about the World Finals. I mean, we're talking. This thing is just like, hauler parade tomorrow, Wednesday qualifying, and then you get 3 nights of racing. And give me your thoughts on Charlotte. What, as an event, as a whole, everything about Charlotte, sum it up to me in a nutshell.
I tell you, to me, just the 4 wide with the daggone sprints and the big blocks, heck far I look forward to lining up with those guys, and that's the coolest thing I think I've ever done as far as just riding around. And I don't know how big the crowd is there. It looks like it's a sellout crowd every year. And all the stuff flashing. It's probably one of the coolest things I've ever did.
Yeah. Well, and it's really crazy, like you just said during that 4 wide, is you realize the amount of driver talent that is on that racetrack all at the same time across all aspects, all three series. It's pretty insane that they're able to put all of that into one weekend, where you get to see the best of the best from all three of them. And I don't even know if people realize the big blocks probably put the best racing on all weekend when we're there. Watching those guys, they will slide. Like, it doesn't matter. They don't use the racetrack like we do or like the sprint cars do. They'll be 3-4 wide, slicing through traffic. It's pretty intense the entire time, but it really is a spectacle for the race fans and for everybody else.
Especially when you got 70 cars. I mean, they're expecting like around 70 late models. Well, usually that's exactly about what they get, anywhere from 60 to 80. I mean, it's loaded.
Yeah.
Yep, it's definitely a tough field in every class for sure. I was actually eating Cracker Barrel today and seen a couple that was headed to Charlotte already. So.
Yep, everybody's loading up.
Hoosiers going to make a few nickels this weekend.
Yeah. They got Jimmy for a couple. He said he's in there doing tire work already after burning everything off this past weekend.
Yeah, I got Justin and Chad in here helping me out. They come home after work, so they're be helping. My brother had the car unloaded this morning, turned the truck around. I've never seen him turn the truck around. I got there and the truck was turned. That was putting jackknife up where it all looked good.
Jimmy, talk about the really the tire situation we're in and the difference, that these tires that Hoosier came out with us for this year. We've had a lot of guys talk about on the show. It's a huge discussion. The kind of issues we've all ran into and just the kind of adaptation that you had to do throughout the season dealing with, all the different tire stuff we've been doing.
I tell you, it's been crazy. I've watched some of them summer national races and them blow right rears out. And I ran the new ones a lot. So I liked the new ones. They felt a lot better to me. And we'd run them. But like, you just got to up the tire pressure on them. But I remember, like Batesville, we was running that qualifying race where the 97 and the 58 got together and did their little stunt there. But I got the lead there, and the car felt really, really good, but I just kind of run up, and there was a small cushion up top. When I touched it, I could feel that right rear, and I was like, uh-oh. I could tell that wasn't happy at all. And so I just dropped back down, and those guys got by me, and I was just cruising as much as I could. But, man, just as soon as that thing, I don't know if it twists in the wheel or what they had going on there, but that thing, son, it wasn't happy, and it was just a shake. And I was like, crap. And that was worse than leading the daggone race, knowing you're not going to win.
Yep, right. Yep. Well, and we had Mark Richards on earlier this year, and that's one of the things, they've had a ton of flats, right? They were exploding it seemed like they were exploding right rear tires, seemed like every week. And I think the craziest part about it is that it's not like it's it runs 25 laps and gets hot and blows out. We're seeing guys explode right rear tires in hot laps, 5 lap, or running 5 laps in a heat race and blow a tire out. And it's kind of an uneasy feeling, at the end of the day, not knowing what the hell you're going to get when you roll on the racetrack. And, I know we used to everybody chases date codes and serial numbers and all these different things, but it doesn't even seem like that matters anymore.
It doesn't. I know, just like I've learned just to be careful. I know we blowed one out at East Alabama the same way. Just the track was really hooked up and hammered down, and they had a little bit of a cushion. I got up top and touched it, and this one didn't make it down the back straightaway. And as soon as I touched it, had that little shake, and it's done. It's over with after that. And there's nothing left of them. I mean, it just they go off like a bomb. And you're lucky if you got the decking and stuff in. And, it seems like they're doing a whole lot better. Maybe they've got a hold on it and things will be a whole lot better next year. But it's, it's been kind of tough. Been a lot of races lost because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and Jake, for you kind of transferring more into this late model world, I'm sure you're learning the tire game and having to understand how you take care of your stuff, right? You come from, racing mods where it's obviously a completely different tire width, all of those things. What's that been like to kind of have to understand when you could push a tire, when you can't, when you're on something harder or a softer set. What's that been like?
I would say that's probably one of the more challenging things about it is just learning the different compounds and like you said, how when to go hard, when to ride around, and when not really ride around, but not push it too hard, and how to cut them, how to just everything about them is different. You know what I mean? Our modified tire is just always too hard for the track we race on, so it's I would say it's a lot easier program over there, and you just run it hard all the time. You know what I mean? Because it's no matter what, it's going to be junking into the race pretty much, but this late model deal is a lot different. You know what I mean? Like I said, you could overheat a right front. I kind of learned that pretty. It's about the first race I learned about that, and really just like I said about how to groove them, how to sipe them. Just everything's a little bit different about them.
What about you guys are watching I've just had to throw it out there. It's Charlotte's big block weekend, 2 modified guys. Jimmy Owens, man, have you ever thought about driving one of those big blocks?
Oh, son, I'd love getting a sprint car, big block. At one time when I was in my prime, I thought I wanted to run Formula One, but I know that I didn't. Race through these woods. I like road course stuff really good, and never really got the opportunity to do that. But I always thought it'd be fun to do all that. But of course, everybody that races probably thinks that too.
Yeah, what's funny is Bart Hartman once he did Syracuse the one year. And and that was when it was the FX cars when they were really on top, and he was teammates to Alan Johnson, and he was like winning everything that year. And I actually went, and I still remember I was like, Alan Johnson said something like to Bart, he says, start talking to him. Bart wasn't listening to him, and he's like, hey man, I'm trying to help you here. And Bart goes, listen, I just want to say I did this. I didn't say I was going to win in it or how competitive I was going to be. I just wanted to do it, and I did it, so I'm happy now. And it was like Tim Fuller was there, and Tim Fuller's even looking at Hartman like going, this is not the answer they're looking for. This is Syracuse. A lot of guys would love to be in there, and Bart's like, it's a bucket list thing. I did it now.
Right.
So if Jimmy Owens wanted to run a big block, I would think somebody's going to give you an opportunity. I think it'd be cool as hell.
Yeah. They'd be trying to hire him as a fabricator, too. They'd be wondering how to get some speed out of him.
Because I think those cars, when you get up with, being from the Midwest where we have nothing but UMP modifieds, and then when you do go to Charlotte and you go out east to Evolution, some places like that, and you get to see these cars, the craftsmanship that are in these things, they're amazing. I mean, they're beautiful.
Yeah. Some bodies are wild in those things.
I know when I grew up, we used to go to Volusia with Dad every year. I was 6, 7, 8 years old. I'm telling you, there wasn't one car I wanted to see more in the entire pit area than the Bud 3 of Brett Hearn.
Absolutely.
That was the only thing I cared about going to see. I didn't give a shit about going to watch the late models. Didn't care the Donnie Moran and all these. I'm like, all I wanted to do, I'd go be down in the lower pit area, wanting to go stand by Brett Hearn and hang out with those guys. I thought they were the coolest things in the whole world. The Troyer race car guys, the one year they all gave me T-shirts. I had hats. I didn't get one late model thing the whole time we were down there. My dad's like, why the hell are we brought you here for a late model race and you don't even care about us. So yeah, they are neat. But Jimmy, I kind of want to go through all the cool shit that you've done throughout your career. You've won 4 Lucas championships. You've won damn near every crown jewel there is to win in late model racing. Is there anything in your mind that you haven't accomplished that you want to accomplish still?
Never really had a goal to set out to do any of that. I just liked racing. And, the first time we won the world, everybody was like, man, how's it feel? And I was like, I guess it's all right. I mean, it's right. We come here to win. And we didn't understand the prestige, because I always considered myself a mod racer forever and ever. And I didn't really even know what basically that race was at the time. I did, but I didn't. You know what I mean? And then later on, it became more of a want-to thing. But when we was winning, I was just concentrating on winning. It didn't matter if it was a World 100, a Dream, the Show Me, it didn't matter. That was just a race to me, and we was out to try and get it done.
Yeah, I mean, I was looking at it earlier. I mean, you won the USA Nationals, you won the North South, you've won the Dream, the World, Show Me 100, Knoxville. Honestly, the list just goes on, and it's crazy to think. I remember back to your, when you won those Lucas Championships right in a row. It just seemed like everywhere you guys went, that really nobody had anything for you, and it just, you guys were consistent and carrying on. It honestly, it was just impressive.
It was the O show.
Yeah, and it's crazy to think, how hard this game really is, and how difficult it is to win these. And you've made it look a lot simpler than most could ever dream of.
Well, it was just we had a good team, good sponsors, good help. And a good team means anything. I had my cousin Chris with us, and we'd been together. We did everything since we were growing up. And so kind of like Shane and Dale, you know what I mean? They've been together forever. They know what makes each other click. And, we didn't see eye to eye a lot. And we didn't come across with each other as good as we needed to, but we knew what we was trying to say. And it ended up in a fight a lot. But most of the time, get in the car and get the job done and get it done. And but it was just good chemistry between everybody. And, the cars fit me well. Scott's cars fit me well. And we just got on a roll. And it was good. It was fun times.
Jake, are you going to start chewing bubble gum next year?
Yeah, whatever it takes. I don't care what I got to chew.
Yeah,
I'll chew Red Man if I have to.
You'd be sneaking in Jimmy's trailer, swiping out a stick. Jimmy, Hey, what's the go-to choice of gum that you're normally chomping on?
It's probably some sort of mint Trident, sugar-free or whatever. And so that's what the last 3 or 4 years. And I don't think I've bought chewing gum in probably 10 years. Fans to you, and that's just the awesome thing about people. They just never cease to amaze you at how kind and supportive everybody is.
Jimmy, when you're away from both of you guys, we always like to, the people at home always want to know a little bit more about you guys. Naturally you're going to go, that's all I do is think about racing. But some of the things that you like to do away from the racetrack, talk a little bit about that. Just if I'm not racing and I don't have to do anything, what does Jimmy Owens want to do?
I like fabbing. I like building buggies and stuff like that. We built a couple of rock crawlers. Built a model this winter for one of my Capital Electric guy that sponsors us, his kid, and I got to watch him winning that thing down at Duck River a couple of races in a row. So that was pretty cool, and just doing stuff like that. And then we'll usually go riding. I still love doing that. We've always been up in the woods and doing buggies. Now it's razors and motorcycles and stuff like that, and I ain't never got tired.
He's always got to be on. He's got to either be on four-wheeler. He's always racing something or riding something.
Yeah. What about you, Jake? What are you doing if you got an off day or if you're not thinking about racing?
Yeah, we're just hanging out with the kiddo. I got a 4-year-old, and he keeps me honest. We're always doing something. He's into baseball right now, so we've been doing that quite a bit, and kind of the same thing. Whenever I am home, which isn't often, but we like to go riding too. We got dirt bikes and stuff, and we got a family business at home, so a lot of times I'll be down there working too. So not as much as I probably should, but I've been messing around with racing too much.
And I'm going to go, Jake, we're going to go right into this a little bit. When you got into racing, who were some of your influences? Who's out there who's out there you watched, made you want to be a racer?
I didn't even know. So I come from motocross racing. We started racing quads when I was 4. And I didn't know anything about circle track racing until I was probably like 13 or 14. And, we had a lot of really good local guys, like R.C. Whitwell was out there, Jeremy Payne.
Yeah.
Terry Phillips came out there a lot to race. And those were like the only guys I really knew about. And then the more I got into it, obviously Bloomquist and them guys, I started kind of looking at the late model race, and Jimmy has always been kind of one of my heroes. Don't tell him, but them guys, I always looked up to them guys quite a bit.
And what about you, Owens?
What's that? I lost part of it there.
I mean, come on now. When you started racing, who are some of the people you looked up to?
Oh, my brother. I used to help him a lot. He was a pretty good shoe. And LD Ottinger, he lived out up the road. He run a lot of Bush Grand National stuff, and Kurt used to work for him. And then Kurt did dirt racing. David Prizer down here, my godfather, they raced, had cars. And my papaw had cars. And so we went there, and then I was probably 11, 12. I was a teenager basically when Scott rolled in and started showing up at Newport Speedway and stuff like that. And he brought a whole new style of driving. He was like kind of flat and straight, and because there's old leaf springs and stuff back then. And so the car would be really, really straight and stuff like that. And Kurt was a pavement racer. He loved racing dirt. And LD was too. So everybody was perfectly straight and not sliding and stuff like that. And so, when I got my old street stock, that's exactly, I just go out there and imagine myself not scooting and a slide and stuff like that. And just so happens we was fast doing that.
There's a lot of people that tell me that when you and Hamel were in modifieds, racing each other, that it was some of the best. I mean, Captain Kurt, he'll flat out tell you, it's like, if you saw Jimmy Owens in the pit area in a modified and you saw Dwayne Hamel in a modified, you were about to see one hell of a race. And some people will still say that it was some of the best racing in modified that they ever saw was Dwayne Hamel and Jimmy Owens in modifieds. How much fun was it racing with Dwayne?
Oh, it was definitely some fun time. I mean, we was both from the same town here, and we was all
exactly
that. And I remember one time, I guess was at Richmond, Kentucky, and up yonder you wanted to run second in the heat race or whatever, or dash or whatever. And Dwayne was a leading, and we're getting ready to come into the checkered. I was right on his ass. We come right to the checkered flag. Well, he bowls up and stopped. He's going to let me pass. And whenever he did, then I went clear through the deck, and it took the roof and everything off the car. Of course, he denied bowling up and stopping for the longest, and it took him a couple of years to finally, So that was pretty epic. But, I drove for Yanders for a while, and then they were running mods, and then drove their cars a couple of times for them. And, it was good times.
Yeah. Jake, what are you doing? What are you doing in Vegas? I found out earlier in Vegas. Are you out there hanging out, or what are we up to?
Yeah, we actually, I got a sponsor that's got a booth up here at the SEMA show, and he asked us to put the car in there, so we got the light model up here. So, yep.
Well, that stinks.
Hanging out pretty much.
Yeah.
There's worse places to be, right?
I guarantee it. Yeah.
No kidding.
Well, and I'm sure, if you're looking at moving into the outlaw stuff next year, saying you do it, I'm sure there's going to be a ton of tracks you've never been to. How do you kind of prepare yourself? Obviously, you'll have Jimmy to kind of guide you a little bit, but what's that kind of feeling like if you're going to really go out here and get on the road and full time the late model stuff?
It's kind of the only thing I really could do is watch a lot of video and talk to as many people as you can and just see the different techniques and stuff. And I think at the end of the day, it just comes down to time and laps. You know what I mean? I felt like the more races I ran this year in the late model, the better we got. It just, it just takes time and laps and building that notebook, like you said, and confidence. It's pretty easy to get down to your confidence. You go from running pretty competitive in the modified to get in the late model and not doing as good as you think you should be doing. You know what I mean? But I think with time and laps, I think we'll get there.
I wanted to ask you both this question, and there's been a lot of talk this year about top heavy purses. There's been a lot of talk about it, and in taking a guy like Jake, you know what I mean? And, guys like Davenport, the guys that are winning 25, 30 races or whatever, winning a lot of big races, I get it. They like the heavy purses like that, And when we started, Gordy and I have talked about this. Perfect example is the flow racing nights. Man, I've heard from Feger, everybody talking about, wow, $20,000 to win, and basically you don't make the show, it's like $50 or whatever. But Jimmy, you have seen it all. I mean, you have seen it from the UMP days or when we first started watching. I remember Summer Nationals when it paid $5,000 to win 20 years ago, and it's almost the same thing it is now. Mm-hmm. And it is.
Yeah, 100%.
And, and then those talk to me a little bit about what is your position when you see a $50,000 purse. Would you rather see it like I'd rather see the thing be 25,000 win than 50 and kind of spread it all the way down? Those guys running like 11th, 12th, and 13th. We talk about it all the time. They took the same amount of money to get there as all the heavy hitters did. And, but if you like it, hey, that's great. But I'd like to really know somebody that's been out there that looks at it. What are your thoughts on the purses today?
I like the formats. Should you spread it back to help the teams out? Yeah, you should, but you need to reward the guy that worked the hardest too, the best. And so it's you busted your ass off at your shop all week, and I mean to go up there and win a race, and it pays $1,500 more to win than it does second, then you just kind of, I don't know. You should be rewarded for hard work. Yeah. And I mean, let's face it, ain't nobody making no money at this dirt late model stuff anymore. Might as well be able to reward when you win yourself. But I don't know. It's catch 22. We got to keep cars in the sport too, and we got to make it suitable for them to come. But personally, I like to see the money. I like to see it spread out, but I like to see the big purses to win too. So that probably wasn't any help. So it's a little bit of both.
No. I mean, that's what I wanted to know. I mean, because it just seems like I hear it a lot, from the different racers out there. And I think it's, you being a guy that's won a lot of $100,000 races, you've won them. And then you've also been to some races like, hey, the guy got $100,000 and I got, 10 or 20, you know what I mean?
Per second, right.
So, some of those races. So that's why I kind of like to know what the racer, what does he think? And you've owned you drove for owners and you own your own stuff. Yeah. So you've seen on both sides.
Well, what about Jake? You'll probably have a good opinion on this because you're kind of clipping into it. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you guys. I think I agree with both of you guys. I think you have to pay these big money to win these races, otherwise the big guys are going to show up. But at the same time, like for example myself, we own our own team, so I've left a lot of races this year when we didn't make them with $400 or $500, and we spent a ton of money to go. So that sucks, but at the same time, it's our own fault for putting ourselves in that position. So I think you got to. I just think everything should pay more.
Just pay more.
I like that.
Yeah.
Everybody. Let's just pay everybody.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Gordy, what do you think?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. It's, here's the thing. I look at it. I'm in the exact same boat you are, Jake. We're a family-owned team. I've been fortunate to have a lot of great sponsors who do help us, get up and down the road. I'm not going out and winning 50,000 to win races, during the year. So, of course, I'm definitely on the side that says, yeah, I'd love it, to pay more all the way through the back. I just think sometimes we go to some of these really big races that pay 50,000 to win or 75,000 to win, and it's $2,500 to start, and it doesn't really feel like you did. It doesn't feel like you were a part of the same race as the guy that won it. And I think sometimes, if they took, if it just paid 30,000 to win, it was still $10,000 or $15,000 per second. They were able to spread out another $20,000 throughout the field. All those dollars add up when you're going throughout the year, for sure. And I think the conversation has changed, a lot more. Obviously, there's so many more guys talking about it in the pit area, and you're seeing racetracks die out and guys who are leaving the sport, team owners. And so I don't know if it's ever going to really change. I mean, if you talk with a lot of the guys who've been in the sport, like Jimmy, a long time, they'll tell you that this conversation was happening 25 years ago. And we're still, the same thing I tell everybody. I said, they pay the same amount of money, and we're all just stupid enough to show up with 60 or 70 of us and keep doing it. So why would they pay any more if we're all going to be there?
Yep.
But yeah, I don't know. It's
look at Jimmy smiling, man. Yeah. Jimmy's like, no, I like them big races.
Yeah,
I like them big races.
Well, Jimmy's won so many of them. He's like, hell yeah, pay all this damn money.
Yeah.
Put it right.
Jimmy's looking around the shop right now, going,
Yeah.
Don's not.
Yeah.
No, I don't like the way Don's thinking right now.
Jimmy's hung quite a few of them big checks, so I think he's like, let's leave that money right up on top. That way, if I
like looking at the checks with them a lot more zeros.
yeah. Jimmy, you probably don't even have any damn room left in your shop to hang any more checks.
Well, we've been fortunate. There's a few spots left.
I tell you what, I was going through the rafters one day up there, and I found about 3 of them U-Haul boxes just stuffed full of checks, 50, 60,000 wins. I'm like, well, this guy, he's an asshole. You know, you don't even hang these out.
You don't even have these out here hanging.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. If I get a 50,000 to win, it's going to be hanging in my fucking kitchen. That's where mine'll be. I'm going to look at it every day.
I'm with you. I might hang it up inside my hauler.
Yeah, right. Just look at it every day you wake up at the racetrack.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, guys, man, I tell you what, Jake, I think it's great that you're getting more and more into the late models. You know, you had that little run there. It seemed like about a little bit of time ago? Was it about 10 years ago when you started dabbling in a little bit and you were in the zero cars and you kind of got?
Yep, about 10 years ago, yeah. Yeah, we tried to.
And now you're back. You know, more. Naturally, it's back and back. It's like you couldn't get enough of the abuse, huh?
Yeah, a sucker for abuse. Exactly what I was thinking.
Yeah, exactly. It just it's just one of those things. It takes a lot of money, and we've been very fortunate lately to pick up a lot of really good sponsors and help, and we couldn't do without them. You know what I mean? That's always been the holdup. You know, late model racing has always been the dream, but just never never been achievable basically because there's just too much money. So. Like I said, we're very fortunate to be able to have some sponsors come on board and help us out. And then with the modified stuff, I feel like the pay has kind of decreased over the last couple of years. We used to be able to race for 10,000 weekly, you know what I mean? And now it's like 2,500, 3,000 win. It's just like, I just don't, it's not quite as fun to leave home. You know, we leave home in February, usually don't get home till November. We live in the hauler all year. I'm like, I just don't enjoy doing that anymore for 3,000 to win, basically. I mean, if I'm going to not make any money, I might as well do it in something badass like a late model.
And the other thing is, with the late model, you've got a lot of options. I mean, the Mars series. I mean, there's a lot of options out there, you know, in the Midwest and stuff. And you know, so I think the opportunities there, and especially, I mean, I think it's exciting. I think it's exciting that you're going to go on the Outlaw Tour. If they're lucky enough to have you, I think it's great.
Yeah.
You know, that's the way I look at it. You know,
definitely. You know, that's a dream and a goal, and hopefully we can achieve it. If not, like you said, you know, if we can work something out with Jimmy, maybe I'll work out of his shop some more. There's still the Hunt the Front series around there. If not, or there's plenty of racing to do, even if we don't do a series. You know what I mean? So that's what's cool about late model racing.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like you've built some pretty good partnerships, you know, with some other racers too.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Gordy would, you know, anytime you come through the Midwest.
Yeah, hell, you can always stay at our shop.
You know,
that's the best part about being in our area. I feel like, you know, where my shop is, I'm fortunate. I'm 3 hours, it feels like, to everything. I'm 3 hours to Wheatland. I'm 3 hours to every Illinois racetrack. I'm, you know, right down the road from Peevely, got mom and dad's, and then I'm only 3 hours to all the Iowa racetracks, or most of them. So, yeah, I mean, hell, you ever need a place to come work for a few days? Yeah.
Jimmy, you're not allowed. You're not allowed.
And bullshit, Jimmy can come up anytime he wants.
I've pulled in and made a pit stop at the racetrack several times between.
Yeah. Yeah. Leaving Wheatland, pull over and stop for a little bit. That's exactly right. Yeah. Well, and that's, I think, you know, that's one of the things that is so cool about racing, right? You meet all these different guys, and every one of them is willing to help you. You know, if you're out far from home, willing to let you come stay at the shop, or, you know, you tear something up, and it just seems, you know, I tell everybody, the racing community is easily the best community I've been around. I've been in a lot of different stuff, and there's not, you know, now don't get me wrong, there's some guys you don't really like sometimes, but if you're broke down on the side of the road, even if they don't like you, they're probably going to pull over and stop and help you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, we've been lucky because of the fact that with the show, we've had a lot of sprint car drivers on, we've had the late model guys, and we find out the sprint car guys love late model racing.
Yep.
And the sprint car guys love late model racing.
Yeah.
You know, and then the late model guys love sprint car racing. And it's really kind of neat because when you hear like a Pursley talking about, he was throwing stuff at Gordy and I that we were like, wow, he actually is watching a little bit of this. And, he's like, he compared the Silver Crown car to a late model.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he said that. He said that. He's like, them Silver Crown cars are probably a lot like those late models. And I was like, nah, I don't think so. I don't really think that they're exactly the same at all. So I fired back at him, though, because we were talking about the youth movement or whatnot. And I said, well, there's a hell of a lot more helmet bag carriers, than there is guys that want to work on their own stuff. So I was, but...
he was one of them.
Yeah, right. So, Jimmy, real quick, I kind of got to ask you this, but like I was saying earlier, you've won all this, all these races and everything. Is there one that sticks out in your mind? Maybe it wasn't the most that paid, or something that you just cherish that one more than the rest of them.
Oh, yeah. Until you asked me that, it drew a blank. But the UMP National, the year Bob member paid $100,000 to win the points. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I think he did it for the late models, the modifieds, and the Summer National Tour. And it just came down to me and Mikey had raced our butts off against each other all year. And the very last race, I had to win. And Mikey couldn't run no better than 6th or 7th or something like that. And pretty much that's the first big check that I'd won, and that's how it finished out. I mean, we won it, and Mikey won 6th or 7th. I mean, we all finished where we were supposed to get it done, and was that and sticks out to me, one of my most favorite wins ever, because it was just everybody worked hard to do that, and it was just pretty crazy.
No,
Jimmy, how many wins, including the modified and the late model, where you at? I mean, you have any idea where you at? How many?
Yeah.
I don't keep up with that.
Come on, man. You gotta know. Am I north of 400? Am I north of 500?
Imagine the amount of mod wins.
How many guys I don't really keep track, but
the amount of mod wins you had to have back then, if you were picking on them guys at those local racetracks, you had to have been picking up 2 a weekend pretty handedly.
We were getting 2 or 3 a weekend.
You're right, Jake. He's a little bit of an asshole.
I told you.
Oh shit!
Yeah, the guy we're trying to beat him up a little bit, and he won't give us no info. But I was,
you guys are talking about racing for money. We race for fun. I mean, I pulled the Peevely, Missouri for the Summer National deal, and I think I paid $300 for the modified. Well, that was a 10-hour trip for $300 just because I wanted to go. And so worrying about the money and stuff like that, how much it costs to get there, then it ain't fun anymore. And you got to rethink that. You got to get back to having a good time.
Yeah.
No wonder these purses don't bother you. Absolutely. I get it now. If you're willing to drive all the way to Peevely for $300, it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's what, that's where we all begin, right? We all had that original passion of doing it because we love it, right? You don't get me wrong. We're all chasing money, but we all still have that same passion to just go and race. Like I said, that's literally why they've been paying the same money for 20 years and we all still show up, right? Like we just can't help ourselves. We just have to keep going, and we're hopeful something will change, but it doesn't. But we don't know anything else, so we might as well just keep going.
I think it's all heading in the right direction if we can just all keep it rolling, and we can keep the whole big family. As when I say family, promoters, racers, and everybody, just everybody staying the course.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing is real quick. So you do Charlotte this week, then are you doing Sonoya in the following week, and then you got the Dome, right?
Yes. I'm not so sure if we're going to Sonoya or not. It just depends on how this weekend goes, and we'll just have to see.
Okay. Well, I wish you nothing but luck, man. You're one of my heroes, man. I mean, anytime you get a chance to talk to Jimmy Owens, it's pretty cool. Yeah. So can't thank you enough for spending some time with me today. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank both of you guys really for coming on here, and Obviously, Jake, whatever happens in 26, we wish you nothing but the best. That's for sure. It's going to be cool to see you out here on the road with us and piling around in the Midwest and wherever the hell else you end up. But for sure, if you do ever need anything, definitely get a hold of me. You can stay at the shop whenever.
I really appreciate that, and thank you guys for having us on for sure.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Anytime.
Awesome. Yep. All right. Well, thank you guys, and Jimmy, I'll see you this weekend. I'm flying to Charlotte Wednesday, so I'll be up there just hanging out. I'm leaving the rig at home, so.
All right, we'll see you up there.
All right. See you guys.
All right,
Thank you.
Guys, be safe.
See you guys. Thank you.